Hey guys, this is Donner. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 underrated precons. So these are precons that, in my opinion, are quite underrated. They are often overlooked, but in my opinion, are also quite fun, decently built, and are decently strong. These are all precons that I would definitely suggest getting as well. By the way, people may not know about these precons, or they may not have experienced them, but honestly, some of them are absolutely baller. Now, you may have seen this video before. It's because I had some audio issues previously, so hopefully they are gone now. So let's go through it. First up here, we got Desert Bloom. So this is my absolute favorite precon, and I absolutely love it. So it's a Naya Lands Matter deck that is built around deserts and utilizing the graveyard, which is something that's very unusual for a Naya-based deck. Usually when you're thinking of like graveyard-based deck, you're thinking of, more black, but no black in this color scheme. It's quite fun to play, very unique. It's specifically around self-milling yourself or discarding or otherwise getting the lands into the graveyard and then bringing them back, getting a whole bunch of value from it. So our commander here is Yuma, Proud Protector. He costs 1 less for each land in your graveyard. Specifically, this does bypass the commander tax as well if you get enough lands in there to make him really, really cheap. Whenever he enters or attacks, he's going to sacrifice a land, and then if you do, you draw a card. Whenever a land is put into the graveyard from anywhere, whether that's from your hand, from the battlefield, from your deck, wherever, you go on to then create a 4/2 green plant warrior. The other commander here is Kiri. I don't know. I've never really used Kiri. In fact, I think Kiri was one of my first cuts from the deck. They're very interesting in regards to buffing up like your plants, but I don't know. Unless you kind of specifically went more that route, I just don't think that they're worth it. We've got Sati Wayfinder. So this is like a couple examples of ways to get those lands into the graveyard, whether it's milling, whether it's looking at the top and then choosing a land, put it into your hand, and then putting the rest into your graveyard. You've got stuff to be able to bring your lands back as well. Eventual regrowth, chuck out a whole bunch of lands back onto the battlefield. Or Titania here lets you return return a land from your graveyard to the battlefield. We've also got stuff like Ancient Greenwater and a Scoot Swarm, because this is it's still a lands based deck. So doubling those lands triggers, doubling your Scoot Swarms is really great, right? You're going to get a whole bunch of value from it. It is technically got a bunch of landfall stuff in it. It's a great theme that works really well alongside it. Next up, we've got Ahoy Mateys. So this is a pirate themed deck. The focus around theft and treasures, while it does say put pirates in the graveyard, it's not a huge theme. I think that theft and treasures is a bigger theme than that. But the kind of commander here, she does do stuff, I guess, with the graveyard. So yeah, but personally, I'm a big fan of, the theft and treasure that works here. It was really overlooked of the bunch because there was 4 great decks that come out with LCI, and this was like the lesser of them. And because it was the least of these great decks, people look at it and they're overlook it. In fact, you can get it pretty cheap because of the fact that most people kind of overlooked it as well. I think that the alt commander is better than Admiral Brass Unsinkable here. Don Andreas. I absolutely love Don Andreas. He has each creature you control but don't own gets +2/+2 menace and death touch. So you're stealing people's creatures. You're building your pirate army because they become pirates as well. And then also whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own, you get to create treasures. So it's just constantly exiling the top of other people's libraries and then stealing their stuff, which is very, very fun in my opinion. We got Indomitable and Portraiser as kind of, some really great reprints or, new cards in it as well. Indomitable works really well with pirates too. You get to bring them back from the graveyard, cast it from the graveyard if you control 3 or more tapped pirates. You've got Herald's Horn and Shared Animosity because at its core, this is obviously a pirate-based deck. So it's stuff to kind of tie the pirates together as well. And then finally, Black Market Connections and Pitiless Plunderer. As I said, there's a big treasure theme here. And Pitiless Plunderer is technically a pirate, so it works really well there. Black Market Connection does make a pirate, but also makes treasures and works well with the treasures too. We've got Jump Scare. So this is a landfall deck, in my opinion, disguised as a manifest deck. You're most likely going to be looking more at the landfall stuff, and that's the stuff that kind of gets really, really explosive. But being able to cheap stuff in with the Manifest Dread is really cool. Some great reprints in here as well, especially around that kind of landfall stuff. And it's very fun just cheating huge things in with Zimone, your kind of face commander here. So here's Zimone. She has whenever a land you control enters, you're going to Manifest Dread. So you're going to look at the top 2 cards of your library. You put 1 onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. So it's the same card, it's just face down as a 2/2 creature. And then the other one is going to go into your graveyard. So you can turn that up by paying its mana cost. But if you have a second land enter on turn, which is pretty easy to do in this deck, you're going to be able to flip one of those up as long as they're permanent. Your other commander here is Kinnan, Corrupted Memory. So one thing that's interesting about some precons is that they'll come across like the secondary commander, or like what's touted as the secondary commander, has some synergies with the deck, don't get me wrong, but the deck doesn't kind of synergize as well with them. They're just a really, really cool commander. So Kinnan is an example of that, where if her power is even, you get to cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. If that power is odd, then you get to cast creature spells as though they had flash. So you get to do this cool, like, flashing in cool stuff, flashing in creatures with it, or, you know, also whenever you draw a card, you get to put +1 counters onto them, so they're getting huge as well. So this kind of manifest stuff is really cool within the deck. You get to manifest out stuff with, like, you know, Scroll of Fate, or, you know, actually using Zimone. And then there's some big things in here, like Sandworm Convergence, that just once it's out there, it's going to do some really great stuff. It's very expensive, but this way you can cheat it in really easily. You know, stuff to synergize well with the manifest as well, like Primordial Mist here. This is one of the only ways you're going to be able to cast an instant or sorcery, as long if it's been put face down, because this instead is going to exile it face up, and then you can play that card. So if you have an instant or sorcery that's face down, you exile it, and then you can play it from exile. You also have over here They Came From the Pipes, which manifests Dread twice when it comes in, but gives you additional card draw whenever a face-down creature you control enters. So just great card draw. It synergizes well with the deck. The landfall stuff, though, is pretty huge. AC kind of enables a whole bunch, or, you know, just lets you bring in additional lands, draw cards whenever a land enters. Ashaya turns all of your non-token creatures, including those face-downs ones, into forests. So boom, now you're manifesting Dread. You're playing the face down card, and then that face down card immediately is a forest, right? It's a land. So then you can flip it up straight away. It's really great. Now, if you guys are wanting to support the channel, you're liking the video so far, you can become a member or buy one of the game mats from over at Quokka using my code. It gives back to the channel, as well as you get 10% off. If you become a member, you know, you get early access to videos and stuff as well. Next up, we've got Animated Army. So this is a really aggro enchantment / artifact based deck. There is lots of different ways you could upgrade this. If you want to go into the artifact route, you can. If you want to go into the enchantment route, you can. If you want to go into vehicles like I have, you can, which is just really funny. Imagining Bellow that's like, you know, druidic raccoon, bringing in all these scrap vehicles. Yeah, that's my way I envision it, at least. Just being able to bring to life all of these really great enchantments and artifacts that are meant to just support your board, but then you're turning them into big swingers with Bellow. Bellow turns every non-equipment artifact and non-aura enchantment into a creature on your turn, as long as its mana value is 4 or greater. It's going to have indestructible, haste, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. You're going to get heaps of card draw. You're going to be able to, you know, swing in with huge stuff. It's just, I just love Bellow. He's just cool. The other commander here is Wild Seal. Gives all your enchantment spells cascade. So when you're casting these big, costly enchantments, you're then going to cascade into another one, because why not? Couple really great enchantments and artifacts within this deck as well. Like, you know, they could just kind of add in a huge amount of really great ones. The great thing about Warmstorm Surge is that these enchantments and artifacts, technically on your turn, when they come in, they're still creatures. So they're going to deal damage with the Warmstorm Surge as well. Unnatural Growth is insane, because now all of those 4/4s that are indestructible and hasted are now 8/8s. S-Seekers is good because now you can animate it, swing it in, create a token of whatever other token you want, whether it's a cat, whether it's some treasures, whatever. We've got Karma of the East tree here to let you just cheat things in, and then Rolling Hamster as another vehicle too. Revenant Recon, I don't know. Revenant Recon got so overlooked because of the fact that Murders at Color of Mana sucked, and a lot of people did not like it. But this is an insane precon. It's got the basis for nearly any single reanimation deck that you ever want to build, just purely within the black section of it. Then you add in the blue, the Surveil stuff, which is just a really cool mechanic and works really well with it. It's just a great precon that got overlooked because everyone hates Murders at Color of Mana. Mirko here is our commander. He has, whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 onto him. Not just that, he's got flying and vigilance as well, because why not? And then you also get to reanimate something as long as its power is less than his at the beginning of the M step. You do put a finality counter on it, but I think this precon even had a way to get rid of those finality counters from memory, or, you know, one of the first things you can add in is like a nesting ground or something like that. And then Marvo is the secondary commander, similar to Kinnan from before. This is a commander that works okay with the deck, just not incredibly well. You got Doom Whisperer and Enhanced Surveillance, absolutely crazy, great surveil support that was printed here. This, you know, Enhanced Surveil is great because now you're surveilling 3 times. It's really good. Doom Whisperer, boom, you can just pay instant speed surveil. We've got Animate Dead and Necromancy, cards that hadn't been reprinted in so long that when they reprinted them, look at how much text they had. Because of the fact that the original text didn't work incredibly well with the game anymore, because they kind of changed some of the syntax and stuff, now they had to put a huge amount of blocker checks on. They are relatively simple to understand if you actually just read through line by line, but they are just crazy, insane reprints, and they're just huge staple cards in any kind of black reanimation deck. Same with like Toxic Deluge and Rise of the Dark Realms, just huge in any black deck, realistically. Toxic Deluge is like the go-to black board wipe, right? Like Rise of the Dark Realms, any kind of milled based deck, whether it's self-mill like the Surveil technically is, or whether it's like, you know, one of the actual mill-based decks or milling everyone and stuff. Rise of the Dark Realms just works incredibly well here. Now, this is an honorable mention. Now, the reason I put this as an honorable mention and not one of the top 5 is because we're still very early into Final Fantasy, but I do think that this one is quite underrated compared to the other ones. Everyone's kind of overlooking it, in my opinion. It is the one that needs a little bit more touch-ups than some of the other ones, but I don't think it is a bad deck. We have played the precons against each other. This one here, as long as you put Celeste as the commander, it just went absolutely bonkers. The dog boy, I think his name's like Garu or something like that, was dealing a huge amount of damage because now whenever you reanimate something at the end step, he's going to deal damage to everyone. Just like a couple more reanimation pieces and like a tortured existence or something just brings this deck up so much. So looking at the current ones, right, like this is why I'm saying this is potentially underrated. This one here is going to for 70. The Scions and Spellcraft one, which I think even needs more touch-ups than this one does, is going up for like, you know, 14 more. And then looking at these two, oh God, there's like a huge gap between this one and the rest of them. I just think that personally, it's underrated and people are kind of overlooking it by a lot. So these are the 2 different commanders. You know, Terra is great, does some reanimation, does some milling, does like everything you want. However, Celeste just blows her out of the water because of the fact that she's going to allow you to not reanimate. She doesn't reanimate herself. She does allow you to put things into the bin to reanimate, but then also buffs up all of your creatures whenever one or more creatures enter from the graveyard or were cast from the graveyard, which in this deck you want to do a lot of, right? So thoughts, I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.